together and really tried to make it work was on the first tour of this character called Ziggy Stardust that I developed. The theatre elements were somewhere between Clockwork Orange and kabuki theatre. Just these, grab this and grab that. A real rag bag of information that didn't actually make any real literal sense. In interviews and stuff, I would just either quote James Dean or Nietzsche. It didn't really matter, because all the ingredients that went into it, people would interpret that, and I'd agree with them.
He represents it all to me. Excitement, space. See, I'm just the space cadet, he's the commander.
I thought, golly, what power. Gosh. I let the whole thing trickle over into my life to such a degree that it affected me dramatically and traumatically for quite a few years during the 70s.
Yes, I had a kind of strange psychosomatic death wish thing, because I was so lost in Ziggy. It was all that schizophrenia.
How much did Ziggy's death have to do with his own personality, or with the circumstances in which he existed, or with the...
Yeah, it was his own personality being unable to cope with the circumstances he found himself in, which is being an almighty prophet-like superstar rocker who found he didn't know what to do with it once he got it, which is... it's an archetype, really. It's the definitive rock and roll star. It often happens.
I don't think anybody can really prepare themselves for fame on the level that we've had. When you try to think about what it'll be like to be famous, you can only comprehend it within the scope of what you've experienced or what you know to be out there. It's so beyond that. There's hot and cold running women, drugs, alcohol, food, limousines, jets, and you very quickly begin to believe that that's the way to live.
We're pampered beyond belief, us, rock and roll superstars. And I still like to get pampered. I'm not being hypocritical, but not to the degrees that we prance around and we're very, very spoiled.
I never tie my own shoelace. Never. It's just not the thing done in rock and roll.
Ironically, you become a rock star because you don't want to do what people tell you to do. It's the classic thing. You want to rebel. You want to have control of your own life. What happens is, if you get extremely famous, you lose that control again because so many people are looking for pieces of you.
And you suddenly, you got friends you thought you'd never have,
Hi, fellas! How you doing?
A lot of people show up, and you have to kind of sort out why they've shown up.
Yes, Bobby Blackman.
Like suckerfish, those people on the sidelines, lawyers, managers, everybody's starting to call you, hey, babe.
Everybody wants to start advising me what to do, and I get confused,
This is it. I got it. I fucking have it, because it plays off that. There was this author a few years ago. Her name is Anais.
We couldn't work out how these people had those jobs and how they possibly retained them, because such an awful amount of them seem to be such complete dickheads.
Artie fucking Polymer Records, how are you? I'm your promo man here in Chicago.
Oh, that's great.
I love you guys.
When you're allowed the self-indulgence of being anybody you want to be and having somebody tell you that that's okay, it's very frightening. And in a lot of ways, your art will suffer. I think the 70s was the time when that danger became most apparent, because that's really when everybody started making a lot of money. And when you have money, it buys you influence. When you have influence, it buys you power.
Well, fame in the 70s, it's like equals power, and you have the power to get what you want. You know, so I mean, we used it to party.
You know, we were the Toxic Twins, and we had to, live by night and not by day, and we slept all day, haha, and isn't that marvelous? And it was fun. When I got sober, I got pissed off that I didn't make love to all these women. I was in the bathroom with, this guy and that guy, and this girl and that girl, and just, filling my nose and filling my arms, and I really didn't get a chance to revel in it.
The torture of fame and success and lots and lots of money is not a subject that's guaranteed to win an awful lot of sympathy with other people, I can tell you that.
It was fun for a long time because it was just me and the boys and our jet. How cool could that be? If you're a millionaire at 20 years old and you're unattached, you don't have any responsibility except to have as much fun as you possibly can. At least that was the idea in the 70s. I think there's more of a social conscience now than there was then. At that time, it was just have fun.
Can be very privileged existence. I don't mean in terms of money, but I mean in terms of really like what you get to spend your time doing. I live a very privileged life, and I've always thought it was my responsibility to talk about to talk about life as it is for everybody. I mean, if I want to write songs everybody can understand, then I can't be writing songs about living behind a wall in Bel Air. In my music, I use a personal narrative to talk about things that, in final analysis, are more or less universal, hopefully. If I'm doing it right, then they're not just about my life, but about your life, too. Looking out at the road, rushing under my wheels. I don't know how to tell you just how crazy this life feels. It's put in my mind very early on that you should discover yourself and find out what that is and bring that out, and that's what people would be interested in, what you have inside, what you have to say. For me, writing songs is like collecting or harvesting the residue of a life. It's almost what happens when you later take your experiences and reflecting on them, arrange them in some order.
A lot of the blues players came from very poor, dirt poor backgrounds, and they had this gift of singing about the human element, which was a lot of it was despair, and making people laugh at it.
A lot of stuff came out of anger. Being in a rock and roll band, it's how do you do it? You don't punch your wife or get drunk or throw your Rolex. Write a song about it. I'll fix your ass.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do. How can I ever change things?
At the time that we were doing Rumors, there was this rather unusual situation within the workings of the band where you had two couples that were in the process of breaking up during the making of the album. So you had all this cross-dialogue going on.
You can go your own way, go your own way.
You had John McVie and Christine McVie breaking up. You had Stevie and myself breaking up. Go Your Own Way was a song basically directed at Stevie.
Go Your Own Way was Lindsay talking to Stevie or not talking to Stevie. It was basically On Your Bike Girl. Whenever that song was at its peak, that was Stevie and Lindsay playing out whatever roles they were playing out. I mean, some heavy stuff went on with that song.
album went way through the ceiling, you know, and at some point became a phenomenon in which the sales and the success of it really became disproportionate to what the music itself was. I always perceived it as having something to do with the fact that it was kind of a musical soap opera, and I think all of that came through. I think the emotion of that, the truthfulness of that came through on the grooves.
The Rumours album turned into a freak, really. We weren't going to complain about it because we really all the interviews would go like, well, how much money you made? That's what, 15 million albums now. But we got through it, and then we went into a situation where the likes of Peter Frampton, the Bee Gees, a lot of these bands were selling a lot of albums, big numbers that hadn't been done before.
Woke up this morning with a wine glass in my hand. Who's fine? What fine? Where the hell did I go? Must have been a dream. I don't believe where I've been. Come on, let's do it again. How do you feel?
Frampton Comes Alive was released in January 1976, and it became this ginormous record-breaking record, and became the biggest selling record of all time.
The 55,000 that showed up today at Anaheim were there because of only one person, the 26-year-old Englishman whose name is magic enough to have all these rock fans standing out in the hot sun from 1 in the afternoon to 8 o'clock tonight.
There were quite a few boom years there. There were a lot of people who were realizing that you could make a ton of money off of concerts on a large scale. We were certainly in the middle of that until the bottom dropped out of that, which was not a bad thing.
The way I think that Frampton Comes Alive changed the industry was that it made everybody realize that there were a lot of people out there, more people than usual, that could buy a record. There's a bigger audience out there than they thought, which turned it into a much bigger business almost overnight.
Frampton Comes Alive was the first sort of generally recognized multi-platinum album. And when people realized you could make that much money selling records, they became disinterested in fringe artists. You know, people within the industry became disinterested in fringe artists, started investing everything in these sort of mega platinum artists. And that amount of money also attracted, corporations that had no essential interest in music. You know, they had only interest in money-producing enterprises of any kind. Gulf and Western started buying up record companies, and therefore record companies started being run from accounting offices rather than from A&R offices.
It was a new game, a new, as you would say, new ball game.
There was the corporate thing in the 70s where people were making, big stadium shows and